Hey everyone, Austin here with another quick play. Today it is something Nintendo 64 related for once. That's right, I haven't done anything N64 related on my channel in quite some time, but today, as you can see, it is going to be Killer Instinct Gold. This is a conversion of Killer Instinct 2, the arcade game, which is a 1996 arcade game, follow-up to the original Killer Instinct. KI2 in the arcades didn't get a whole lot of love back in the day. I think most people that are familiar with the game are actually familiar with this iteration of it, but some people don't know that it's actually a port of KI2. Now, there are some differences I'll touch on as we attempt to play through this, but yeah, this is a really solid game, really solid early Nintendo 64 effort in particular, and it holds up really well in terms of gameplay and audio. Like, the music of this game is just so good. It's one of my all-time favorites. I love it. Same with the first Killer Instinct. I mean, they both had, no pun intended, killer soundtracks. But yeah, for anybody just joining me for the first time in this series, this is sort of a casual series of videos where I just fire up a game and see what we can do with it. In most cases, I'm kind of cold going into these games. And in the case of KI Gold, I haven't played this in quite some time. It's probably been like a year since I last played this, so we're gonna go ahead and kind of wing it. I don't know all the ins and outs of this game. I have played this a lot over the last 25 years, but I don't know like a lot of the fatalities and stuff like that. I know some of the ultra combos, and I know how to do quite a few combos, but this isn't going to be like an expert video by any means. We're going to go through the arcade mode. We're going to probably have to continue several times. That's probably being generous, actually, because the AI and KI, both 1 and 2, very brutal, very difficult games, unless you really know what you're doing, and I don't. But yeah, if you've played this before in the past and you're just sort of nostalgic about it, you know, kick back, relax, you know, enjoy a trip down memory lane. And for those of you guys that are a little more familiar with this, feel free to drop some tips and your own strategies and whatever in the comments section below. So yeah, for anybody curious, we're actually on a HDMI modded Nintendo 64. This is with the UltraHDMI mod. I got this modded probably 3 or 4 years ago now, and it makes capturing and recording so much easier, and it looks, you know, pretty crisp. So for anybody wondering what the video quality, or why the video quality is the way it is, that is why. I've had some comments recently on some older upscaled videos asking why the video quality looks so good, but for now, this is why. It's HDMI modded. It looks like I actually had the difficulty on extra hard. So what's interesting about KI Gold is there's a ton of unlockables, and I think a lot of the unlockables are based on like the difficulties you complete the game on. I think there are level 4 and up options as well. There's just a lot of configuration settings here, which is awesome. Definitely one of the fighting games of the 90s with the most replay value, in my opinion, because of all the unlockables and all the different like tweaks that you can make. You can even yeah, there's just like, oh man, there's just so much stuff here. You can even turn the speed up, which I'm not going to. We're going to leave it on the normal speed. All right, so let's go ahead and hit start. And you got focus training, you've got training, you've got practice. Practice is just like you jump in and you can just like fight an opponent infinitely just to practice combos and stuff like that. Focus training, if I remember correctly, well, I don't remember if it's training or focus training, but one of them allows you to go into like this mode where they like actually teach you the ropes of the game. It's a great beginner's fighting game because of that. Like they'll literally like baby you through like combos and stuff like that. It's really cool. All sorts of other modes too, but we're gonna go ahead and jump into the arcade mode, which is how I've always played KI2 or KI Gold. We're gonna actually start off with Jago. Jago and Glacius are my main 2 characters in this game. I can probably do a couple of things with some of the other characters because, you know, KI's move and combo system is pretty intuitive. Like, you don't have to learn, like, specific combos for specific characters. You can, like, learn a combo with one character and sort of carry that over into most of the other characters in the game. It's really cool. And I'll try to explain the combo system as we progress, but it is confusing to explain verbally. It's one of those where, like, you need, like, a photo guide, really. But basically, for anyone that hasn't played this before, both the Killer Instinct 1 and Killer Instinct 2 feature your typical, you know, fighting game moves of the 90s. What I always like to tell people is that KI is kind of like a mix between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter 2. It leans more heavily in the Street Fighter direction in terms of how moves are performed, but it does also have like fatalities and stuff like that, like Mortal Kombat does. But it has even more. You can do these things called Ultra combos, which I just did one right there. And so when the opponent's health bar is in the red and it's blinking, if you start a combo and you end it with the ultra combo input, it'll actually do this automatic combo. It's all flashy and it says ultra combo, as you saw, and it's really fun. That was one of like the most impressive things about Killer Instinct 1 when it first came out in 1994, and then, you know, it carried over into KI 2 and subsequently KI Gold. Very fun. But there are also fatalities you can do. Now, the fatalities are done differently in KI2. In KI1, the enemy, once their health bar was completely depleted, they would basically get back up and they would get dizzy, just like in Mortal Kombat. And then you'd have the opportunity to do a series of inputs to do a fatality. KI2 doesn't have that. I think you have to, kind of like the Ultra combo, I believe when the enemy's health bar is in the red and blinking, you can do the, was it the ultimate attack? I don't remember the actual name for it. I want to say it's ultimate. Someone's going to have to correct me in the comments down below. But you'll basically end up doing like a fatality. That isn't KI2, right? I'm pretty sure it is. Now I'm starting to doubt myself because I haven't played this in so long and I haven't been good at this in so long. I was definitely better at this game in the 90s when I had, you know, a move sheet like in front of me and all that good stuff, but I haven't played this in a while now, and so like some of the details are very foggy right now. Let's go ahead and skip through this. One thing I love about this game on the Nintendo 64, and N64 doesn't get enough credit for this, is pretty much no loading. It's just instantaneous. Whenever I go and I play something like MK Trilogy on PS1, it's just, you know, it's gotta wait and load. And that's not the case for every PS1 fighting game. Like, stuff like Tekken 3 is actually really fast. But it's so nice having a arcade-like experience in terms of, like, you know, the loading and whatnot. Alright, so I'm going to try to do a special here. I find that the AI has a tendency of just running right into that projectile. So one thing that KI2 added that KI1 did not have is a special bar. And so you'll notice as you're beating up on your opponents and as you take hits, your little special bar underneath your health bar builds up. And you can do specials, whatever you want to call them. Super moves, I don't know. One of them for Jago is, I think it's half circle back and then low punch. And what ends up happening there is he throws this this projectile out, and the AI just has a tendency of, that's our first game over. The AI just has a tendency of just running right into it. So I try to take advantage of it as much as I can. Let's go ahead and pop in my initials. Unlike KI1 on Super Nintendo, this actually saves your information. So, you know, like high scores and stuff like that. So you want to put your initials in if you care about that sort of stuff. Something I didn't actually point out is you can actually change your costume color by pressing up or down. There's actually a lot of different options, which is pretty cool. So KI, again, it's hard to explain from a gameplay standpoint. Like I said, you got your usual fireballs and stuff like that. It takes, after Street Fighter 2, more so than Mortal Kombat. But, so, like for Jago here, you've got the same input as, you know, Ken and Ryu's Dragon Punches from Street Fighter. And, trying to focus here. There we go. So basically forward, down, forward, and any punch button will do his uppercut. Quarter circle forward, and any punch will do his Indokuken? I don't know how you pronounce it. Let's just say his fireball. Quarter circle back, and any kick will do that big flying kick. Half circle forward and kick will do this this slide kick, which apparently Orchid right now does not want to let me do against her. One thing that's interesting about Killer Instinct is it's got this sort of rock, paper, scissors system where just about any move in the game can be countered by another move. Like she just did her jumping knee, it's pretty much guaranteed to go through my projectiles. So that's a rock, paper, scissors thing. If she doesn't do that, she'll have to block it or she'll have to take damage. And same when I do my slide kick, she can do another move that overrides it. And then because you're playing against a computerized opponent, they already know the exact like solution to your attack, which can make fighting against the AI a little difficult. So yeah, there's a rock, paper, scissor system involved in this game. Now, there's also more to the combos. So combos are really interesting in this game. They have this auto combo system, sort of auto combo. It's not fully auto. What they have is this thing called auto doubles, where you do what's called an opener. An opener is usually a special move. And so for me, one of them is this slide kick. Another is this forward kick. So Jago does like a quick 1-2 with his feet. So 1-2, and then I can link it into a special, and then basically continue my combo that way. So you do an opener, then you press a button, and it'll do an automatic like 2 or 3 hits, and then you do another special move, which I think is called a linker, and then you hit another button, which will do another auto 1 or 2 or 3 hits. And then you'll do what's called a finisher, which you'll generally finish with another special move. So it's like special, manual attack, special, manual attack, and then special again to end the combo. Let's see if Jago will actually... Oh! He did like this huge fireball I haven't seen in such a long time. Ooh. So we got the ultra combo. If you manage to land the ultra combo, it's a guaranteed, basically, victory. So they can't get out of it. And the reason I say that is you have things in this game called combo breakers. So I think it's during the auto double sequence, if you do a specific move, a combo breaker move, you'll actually break their combo and come out of it. And so for Jago, one of them is this half circle back and, medium punch, which is his green sword here, which is very cool. I've always enjoyed that move. And so you can do a combo breaker that way, or for Jago, you can also do an uppercut. His Street Fighter Dragon Punch type move. So TJ combo here can be a little difficult. They actually just call him combo in this one. In the first KI, he's TJ combo. So again, I'm going to try to take advantage of that fireball. I love the particle effects on Jago's fireballs in this. That was always one of the awesome things about KI1 in particular. When that game first came out in '94, and you saw all the particle effects, it was like, whoa! I had never seen anything like that before. For those of you guys that are younger, the Killer Instinct games were cutting-edge titles when they came out, or at least the first one. KI2 less so. And it's kind of hard to see right now because what we have here is polygonal backgrounds. In the original arcade games, they actually used basically like a series of full motion video in the backgrounds, and they looked phenomenal for the time. They blended with the characters extremely well. And they did the same thing with Killer Instinct 2 in the arcade. But when they brought the game home to Nintendo 64, they actually opted for the route of making real-time backgrounds. And the reason for that is the original KI arcade games actually used physical hard drives to store all of its data. There was a ton of data in those games, and you just could not do that on a Nintendo 64 cartridge, which had significantly less data that it could handle, or that it could store. So what they ended up doing is basically making polygonal backgrounds for this version, and it's interesting. It actually doesn't look bad, especially for the time. Remember this game came out, I think the N64 one was it 96? N64 came out in 96, so I think this was one of the earlier games for the system. I believe it was 96, or either that or it was very early 97, but I'm pretty sure it was before 97. We'll have to check the title screen. So, unfortunately, one of the problems with this setup, though, this polygonal background, is it doesn't let you go all the way back to the far left-hand side of the screen, and so you can't tell where the wall is. Now, that's not a problem in all the stages, but it's definitely a problem here on Glacius's level. So, kind of bummed about that. In the arcade game, you get pushed all the way to the far left wall, and so you don't have to worry about, like, not knowing where you can move and where you can't move. So one strategy against Glacius is if he gets far to one side of the screen, you can actually sort of bait him into doing his little, T-1000 style, Mercury effect, whatever you want to call it. So basically what you do is you throw a fireball, he tries to go under it, but then you can actually interrupt his attack with another special move, and that's what I typically like to do. Let's go ahead and switch costumes with Jago here. Let him stick out a little bit more. Alright, let's try this again. Now, what's actually kind of interesting about the combo system, if you do your inputs as fast as possible, your combos will actually come out faster, which makes it harder for your opponents to do combo breakers. So there's a whole lot to the combo system in this game. It's actually quite interesting. It's a very unique combo system that basically like no other fighting games used as far as I'm aware. KI, KI2, and then subsequently the KI remaster for Xbox One and PC, not remaster, but the reboot, would use that system and pretty much nothing else. It's a really, really fun system, and it's generally pretty well received in the fighting game community. Like, people just enjoy it. It's unique, it's different, and it's fun. So let's go ahead and do a fireball. Oh, he's not gonna do it. Let's see. Yep, there he goes. See, just like that. And I did my ultra. So basically what I did is I threw a fireball to bait him into his ground slide move, and then I was able to interrupt it with my ground slide kick, and then boom, that was it. So one interesting thing about KI Gold is that it actually, in between the gameplay, it actually runs at a higher resolution, so you'll notice that the menus look a lot sharper than the gameplay itself. So it's basically running at 480i on the menus, and it is going to 240p during the gameplay itself. And so if you're playing this on an actual Nintendo 64 and you're trying to capture for YouTube or something like that, like I am, you're going to notice signal drops in your capture card and whatnot. But with my HDMI mod here, we actually don't get any signal drops, which is great. So this is Tusk. He's honestly like the worst guy for me when I'm playing as Jago in particular. He's got a lot of anti-air attacks, and so we might have to continue here a bunch of times, but we'll just kind of see. So I did my ground slide. He did one of his other specials, again, rock, paper, scissors, that just completely overrode it. So, very difficult. So one strategy, too, is to not even bother doing combos. It's to basically just like start with the special, then end with the special immediately, just to do some quick damage. And, you know, it's a perfectly valid strategy, especially if you're like me and you haven't played in a while and you're not very good. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. He's got no health. He must have had like 1 hit point, and it wasn't enough to be visible on his health bar. So, it's been a while since I played, so like I don't have a lot of these like strings in mind as I'm playing, and so like I'm doing the opener. I might be doing like my first auto double, but then I'm not actually following through with that. Yeah, look at that. He woke up, used one of his rock, paper, scissors moves that went straight through my fireball. And that's normal. Like, that's not like cheating. It's not like, oh, man, the AI is doing things a human player can't. It's like, no, a human player could probably do that. They just have to know that that's the move that can go through fireballs. You know, that's the move they have to use in order to, you know, bypass whatever move I'm using. Oh, anti-air, there we go again. Alright, that's good. I did not want to actually do my uppercut, but that's fine. Yeah, Tusk has always been one of the hardest opponents for me in this game. Tusk and the final boss, which is Gargus. Those are definitely like the toughest opponents for me. A lot of the other guys aren't too bad for the most part. Alright, that's fine. So for the guys that have never played a KI game before, you'll notice that, you know, when someone loses a health bar, the other opponent keeps whatever health they currently have. It's a really interesting system that actually honestly makes you feel good if you get like if you really get, you know, a head start on your opponent's health bar. And, you know, they go to their second health bar and you still have your first one. It just makes you feel really good. You feel safe, you know? It's cool. Oh, come on, man. Trying to think of other things to talk about that are kind of interesting, that are sort of like unique to KI. One thing that's actually pretty neat is when you beat the game, the ending you get is actually dependent on like who you defeated and who you did ultras on, ultra combos on, or you did fatalities on, or you knocked them off ledges or whatever. It's pretty interesting. There's a lot of replay value in this game, and I feel like KI2 in particular doesn't get enough credit in that regard. And he's just blocking everything I'm doing. So there's another super with Jago. I think it's half circle back and half circle forward, and boom. And Fierce Punch, he does this really powerful uppercut. But as you can see, if you don't do it at the right time, it's extremely risky. So I think it requires a full health, or not a full health bar. Wish I had a full health bar. It requires a full, well, I keep forgetting that your super meter actually goes 2 levels. So it requires 1 full level of your super meter. So there we go. That just used up a whole bar. And now I have another whole bar I can use if I really wanted to. So I'm just going to demonstrate it. We're not going to beat this guy with Jago. I think I'm going to have to switch over to Glacius. That's oftentimes what I have to do when I fight Tusk. Like I said, I'm not a fan of fighting Tusk. He's extremely difficult for me, especially with Jago. Glacius has a couple of moves that I think are beneficial. Like, Glacius has this really awesome, like, you get on the ground, you press, it's like either down in Fierce Kick or down back in Fierce Kick. I don't remember what it is. But it basically does this, like, 2 or 3 hit kick combo that you can link into a normal combo. And a lot of times the AI just will not block it. Or if they do block it, they only block the first hit, and the second hit still hits them. So let's go ahead and switch over to Glacius. Like I said, we're going to have to continue a lot on this playthrough. And there we go. Tusk! Alright, so for Glacius, you can do quarter circle forward and medium punch, and he does this shoulder slam. And that's generally what I use when I want to start a combo. However, like I said, you can do down and Fierce Kick, boom, just like that. And a lot of times the AI just does not want to block it. So it's very, very useful. I definitely recommend Glacius as like a beginner character, because he's got a couple of moves like that that are just super handy. So he's also got this like ice pick, where it's like, I think it's half circle forward and Fierce Punch. Very handy. Quarter circle back and any punch will do his projectile. Now, I don't remember his ultra. I want to say it just might be quarter circle forward and medium punch. Nope, it's not. Maybe it's... I don't remember his ultra combo. It sucks because, like, Glacius was one of my most played characters back in the day. But, like I said, I haven't played this in a while. And as I get older, a lot of the details that I know of these games just kind of goes out the window. Because, for one, I play so many other games. That's what happens when you have a YouTube channel like this. Also, I just forget things. You know, it's just kind of like the natural order of life. Especially when you play as many video games as I do. You start losing details of ones like you used to know a lot about. And man, I can't believe, like, it's been about 25 years now that this game has been out. And I've been playing it since around the time it came out. I've always loved the KI games. And, you know, KI Gold on N64 was one of my most played games growing up. For the Nintendo 64. The N64 actually was not a favorite of mine. It wasn't a system I loved. I still don't love it, but I do like it a lot. I mean, it's still a good console. One of my things with it is that it didn't have a lot of the games that, like, I was playing at the time, a lot of 2D games. But obviously KI Gold was an exception. You know, it's a 2D fighting game with 3D graphics, 3D backgrounds, but still 2D characters and a 2D fighting plane. But, you know, when I had a Nintendo 64 in the late 90s and I got this game, I played it non-stop. And I loved it so much, I would eventually, when I got an arcade machine at the end of high school, I ordered a Killer Instinct 2 arcade board and played KI2 on my arcade machine back in the early 2000s. And then as I got older, back in 2012 or so, I ended up buying a full-size KI2 arcade cabinet, and I had that for a few years. I had to sell it, unfortunately, but I used to own one for a while. Wish I still had it, because those suckers are super expensive now. Like, when I got it, I think it was like, I think I paid $600 for the cabinet, and now they're like $2,000. Something like that. They're a stupid amount of money. But a lot of people are nostalgic for both KI1 and KI2, and I think a lot of people are actually realizing that KI2 is a really good game too. A lot of people sort of shunned the arcade game when it came out, not because it was really a bad game, but because there was a lot of other stuff happening at the time. And then I think also one thing a lot of people didn't care for in this, KI2 in particular, is that they, you know how Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, when they carry the characters forward into, sequels and subsequent later games, they generally keep the same moveset and maybe add some more moves. But in KI2, they ended up not just... Yeah, they kept a lot of the same moves, but the way you did the moves were totally different. So for Glacius here, the shoulder slam is quarter circle forward and medium punch. In KI1, Glacius was a charge character, which meant you had to do the same move or the same motion as like Guile's Sonic Boom in Street Fighter, where it's back for 2 seconds and forward and punch. So Glacius went from being a charge character to someone where like his charge could just come out instantaneously, which is a quarter circle forward. They changed his fireball motion, where it used to be quarter circle forward and punch. They did quarter circle back and punch, and the way the fireball worked, or his ice ball worked, was different. So this just comes out as like a generic projectile. In KI1, it's this thing that bounces across the ground, and it's really cool. So there were a lot of changes like that too, and then they also sort of changed how the combo system works a little bit. Granted, they added a lot of stuff too in KI2. They had like parries and stuff like that. You could throw mid-combo. There's just, I think, even more flexibility to the combo system in this. But I think a lot of people overlooked the game because of that. But also, there were just so many other fighting games coming out at the time. 3D fighting games were really becoming the norm. 2D fighting games were on their way out. 3D fighting games were all the rage. The Tekken series in particular was extremely popular. Virtua Fighter 2, very popular. Stuff like that. So yeah, this is Gargus. This is actually our final boss, and there's actually a bit of a gimmick on this one. And that gimmick is you have to do a special that knocks him off the ledge. Otherwise, he just gets his health back, and you just have to fight him infinitely. Now, as you're probably noticing, I don't know any of Glacius' specials right now that use his super meter. So I'm actually kind of at a disadvantage here, and hopefully I can just kind of get lucky against Gargus. Hopefully that he'll just, like, run into my, some of my combos. Now, one other thing about Gargus, too, is that he can actually get his health back. He's got a move that will, regenerate his health. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. He combo broke me right at the very end. Oh, that was so close. I would have won if he didn't do a combo breaker there. Oh, man, that was just mean, Gargus. That was just mean. Let's go ahead and switch my color, see if Gargus changes his color, too. No, he's still this weird shade of purple. Alright, so we're just gonna... Oh, yeah, you see, I keep ducking, and his overhead attack just wrecks me. Yeah, it looks like I could try to get him into a little loop there. Kind of like I was talking about with Glacius earlier on in the playthrough, where I can bait him into doing a specific attack. I could do the same thing with Gargus. Combo breaker again. Yeah, and my shoulder slam overrides his overhead fist slam attack. Yeah, every time he laughs, he gets his health back. Oh, man, come on. What? My move didn't come out. My move didn't come out. I did my ice ball, and then I wasn't able to do the shoulder slam. You know, a lot of people like bash the N64 controller, but it's actually like quite solid for fighting games. You know, it's got a Super Nintendo style D-pad, so it's very accurate. You're not likely to do accidental inputs, but also like the face button layout. It's a 6-button layout. And so you don't have to really apply a lot of work to actually pressing your keys. It's just, you know, it's basically the equivalent of ABC, XYZ, even though it's A, B, C up, down, left, right. It's still a 6-button layout, and it feels very natural for a game like this, and it's actually really good for the fighting games on the system. Do wish the N64 had more quality fighting games. Really, there aren't a lot of, like, great fighters in the system. It's KI2, or KI Gold, sorry, and Mortal Kombat Trilogy. And Mortal Kombat Trilogy gets kind of crapped on a little bit because it's, you know, it's inferior to its 32-bit counterparts. But it's still a good game in my opinion. I like MK Trilogy on 64 quite a bit. It's got a lot of blood too. And it just feels really good on the N64 controller. Like, the D-pad is accurate. And you're not going to end up doing, you know, accidental diagonals and stuff like that. So, and the parts of the controller where you're holding on to the D-pad, you know, the handles, it actually feels quite solid, you know, and it's thin. You know, it's not super bulky, and boom, there we go, finally. Woo, probably only took us like 9 continues, but still, we did it. But yeah, the N64 controller is actually quite solid for this game, and actually works really well. Alright, and here we go. Lured to Earth in search of his lost kinsman, Galatius was dragged into a fight for his life, but his cause was just, and he has emerged. I couldn't even finish that. Playing the game on hard will give you more insight into your character's role in the KI Gold story. So that is kind of a cop-out. They force you to play on the higher difficulties to get more of the ending. But as you play in the higher difficulties, you also unlock more stuff. So, you know, I guess it works out in the end. But yeah, that is Killer Instinct Gold, guys. That was really fun to actually go through. I haven't, like I said, I haven't played this in quite some time. And one of my video game stores up the street actually used to have the KI2 arcade cabinet. And so for a little while I was able to play that, but it's been about a year and a half, I think, since they took those out, unfortunately. So I haven't been able to play that there in a while. And I haven't touched it on N64 since before that. So yeah, it's been a little while since I've messed around with this game. But it's one of those fighting games where I actually really enjoy playing single player, because while the AI is really difficult, there are ways to sort of control what the AI does. Like, again, on Gargos, I was able to do my ice ball, he would do his jumping fist slam, and then I would do a shoulder slam, which would counter it. So, you know, again, rock, paper, scissors, his fist slam would go through the fireball, but my shoulder slam would override his fist slam. And so, you know, learning strategies like that, you know, makes the game a lot more doable, and it makes it really fun in a, you know, from a solo perspective. Obviously, fighting games are best when played against other humans, because things are much less predictable, unless you're fighting someone that just does jump kicks all day. In that case, just anti-air them all day and make them feel really bad about themselves. But yeah, it's fun. It's one of those fighting games I still like to go back to and just kind of like roll through the single player solo. Much like a lot of 90s fighting games, like the Street Fighter games, some of the Mortal Kombats, Primal Rage, and things like that. So, but yeah, I guess that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I do really appreciate it. If you guys have any you know, other games you want to see me cover on this channel for a quick play series, something that's, you know, maybe an hour long or less, feel free to drop a comment down below and I'll add them to a list and I'll see about potentially getting to them. If any of you guys have played KI2 or KI Gold or even KI1, let me know in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts on the series. It's still one of my all-time favorite fighting game franchises. I actually bought an Xbox One a month after launch because of Killer Instinct. You know, I was so into these games back in the day, and that was enough to make a bad investment into the Xbox One in its early days. I love the Xbox One, but you know, if it wasn't for KI, I probably never would have gotten one. But the KI reboot is pretty darn good too. I highly recommend it if you guys haven't played it, and it's also on PC for anyone that doesn't have an Xbox. But yeah. Alright guys, I'm just rambling now, so let me go ahead and get out of here. Thanks again for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day or night, wherever you are in the world. And until the next one, take it easy.